Lady or gentleman, thank you so much for joining me on a brand new episode. If you're new here, I'm your host Rozitta. I am super excited because get this, we are finally getting to the end of season 1. I mean, this episode is the season finale, y'all. I am super excited. It's been quite an interesting journey. I've gotten to meet lots of interesting personalities, and today I have a wonderful gentleman on the show, and the topic we're going to be talking about today is fire. So brace yourself, lady or gentleman. I am so pleased to introduce to our guests Allan, Lawrence, and Precious Cole.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Karibuni sana.
Yeah.
Precious, how are you doing?
Well, I'm good. I'm okay. It's good to see you after a long while.
I know.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. Thank you very
You're
much.
good, Kapsa.
Totally.
How about you, Allan?
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to shoot from the hip.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let me begin by requesting you guys to introduce yourself to Tanzania Allan.
Wow, my name is Allan Lawrence. I'm an inspirational speaker, author, life coach, and above all, a minister of the gospel. And I thank God for being here.
Amazing. Precious Cole, the floor is yours.
Well, my name is Precious
Yeah.
Cole. I am born again. I love the Lord. I am a preacher of God's word. But professionally, I'm a trained civil engineer. And I'm married to one wife. And it's exciting to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Karibuni sana.
Thank you so
So
much.
the topic we're going to be talking about today is one that has a lot of controversies surrounding it. As we begin the discussion on toxic masculinity, I'll begin by requesting you to first of all define masculinity as a man. How do you see masculinity?
All right. So I think for me, masculinity, toxic masculinity, first of all, is a regrettable term. Because masculinity is not supposed to be toxic, especially when we look at it even from the genesis of it, which of course is in scripture. When God created male and female, the Bible says they were good. So masculinity basically is supposed to be a good thing. But now when we talk about toxic masculinity, I think this is a term that is used to describe the negative aspects of exaggerated masculine behavior, such that things that are naturally supposed to be good of men, such as for instance we're supposed to be people who protect, who nurture, grow, can actually become adverse and negative. So when we talk about toxic masculinity, I believe we are not describing something that a permanent state. That is not who we are. We are not toxic by nature. Not all males are masculine. Yeah, it's something that we grow ourselves into. We somehow like get assimilated into. It has a lot to do with our way of thinking, how we perceive things, how we relate, especially with women. Things that end up becoming toxic and abusive. Not to preempt the discussion, of course, that comes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's deep, y'all.
Yeah.
Allan, how would you define masculinity?
Masculinity for me is that protective nature and secure nature of a man, as the way he was just saying. You know, men we are just wired to be those providers, people who, when I show up as a man figure, the environment needs not to be tensed, but needs to be that safe for everyone. So it is that kind of just an assurance for the people surrounding you.
And how then would you define toxic masculinity?
Toxic whichever. So the thing, you know, that's the problem of going to school in groups instead of group of schools. So the issue is, the issue is, for me, is a point whereby you want to prove a point that, you know what, I'm a man. You want to prove a point that I'm at this particular place, and all of you must obey me. So it's that point whereby I must prove a point. And the moment, I always say, the moment you want to prove a point, that's the moment you start losing it. So it's a point whereby a man has lost his nature of who he's supposed to be, and he's acquiring some elusive way of thinking that he can do it so that he can prove his presence.
So it's like it comes from a point of being insecure as a man?
I think to the thing about masculinity is that it is so, the lines are so blurry, you don't even know when it's happening. A case in point, I remember, because I think what we need to understand is nobody teaches you masculinity, toxic masculinity, that now you have to do this. It almost comes up in form of just influence, especially peer. Because I remember some time back, and this is the very basic level of masculinity.
Yes.
I was in school back in campus, so there was this day where I think there was a presentation we were doing in class, so I dressed up for it. I was wearing a brown suit. Unfortunately, it started raining, so I was standing somewhere, and then I met a friend of mine who lent me her umbrella, and then coincidentally the umbrella was brown, so it matched my suit. So when I went to class and got in, the boys just started shouting like umetuangusha, like no. First of all,
next men's conference.
Yeah, you don't. No, first of all, you don't use an umbrella, and secondly, you don't match your umbrella with your
because
suit.
you're a man,
You're
you're
painting.
not supposed to use
Exactly.
an umbrella.
Yeah, and so now it begins to put me in a place where I'm actually not feeling bad about myself. If I have to belong to this group of people, if I need to be accepted, then I should do what they're asking me to do. And so little by little, it starts that way. Things that
From
we,
the little things.
which I'd call faulty definitions of what manhood should be, which then ends up landing ourselves in toxic environments, because then we are now falling short. So our definition of masculinity then becomes the things I do in terms of mwanaume bafu ni kutuliza kama kuku unajua, wachana mambo ya towel, you see,
mwanaume ni kunuka jasho,
bas mwanaume ni kujiachilia, you don't ask for help, you don't cry, you don't say it. So what does that do to you? It pushes you to a place of isolation, little by little. So these toxic traits begin to now define you, and it lands us in a great mess eventually.
And then you easily start identifying with it. And we have men who up to now believe that toxic masculinity is just an idea that women came up with to fight against men, especially feminists. They say that that's just an idea that feminists came up with to attack men. What would you say of such a man?
I think for me, what I'll just say is men just need to be secure enough to do what is right, even if no one is watching, regardless. Just have your personal integrity, that you know what, I'll not do this because I have to fit in some group. Just because you can fit in some groups doesn't mean that is where you belong. Where you belong is where you've understood your values, and you've understood that whatever I'm doing won't harm the other person and won't harm you. Because remember, people don't treat you because of who you are. They treat you because of themselves. So you find how they are. So you find if this man is toxic to other people, it's not about the person they are abusing, it's about themselves. So you should not be defined. That's why I always say that once you let people define you, they like confine you. Once you allow their opinion, they will pin you down, because you just have to live by their validation. And one wrong thing about living by what people say about their validation, imagine you'll die at their criticism. Why? Because these people, they will validate you that you as a man, you need to be toxic. So the moment these people will not be applauding you for being toxic, you will die, because you'll be like, I'm no longer being praised. So you just need to do what is right, regardless and regardless.
So speaking of that, it sounds like toxic masculinity has been born from fellow men and has been sort of forced into other men. So what other factors contribute to this toxicity in men apart from peers?
I think the kind of, for me, I can fully say, men, we tend, we don't have proper mentorship. And by proper mentorship, I mean, it's so hard to get men sit in some setup to be able to discuss issues. We can meet, we can discuss about, those are boys. Boys can meet and discuss about women.
That's always the number one agenda for some reason which I don't understand.
We can sit down and discuss all those kind of things. So men, to some extent, we hate competition. A place whereby we feel like this person wants to teach us That's why today you'll agree with me in churches we have more women and children than men.
Yeah,
Why?
that's
Because
true.
men, we tend not to to be taught. We somehow become rebellious. So that tells you the place of mentorship also has been neglected, whereby the society out here is teaching men what they want to hear instead of them being taught what they need to hear.
And
That's
what is
the thing.
this that men want to hear?
I long for a day in this country or wherever.
Please my ego.
Yeah.
So you just want to be pleased.
But you see,
your ego's massaged.
The identity of a man has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves.
sure.
That's why you hear mwanaume ni ndevu. Yeah, and all of us want to keep a beard because
Yeah.
it gives us an identity. So the thing about manhood is that it thrives so much on affirmation that you have to tell me I'm a man. You know, you have to regard me as such. So it has to do with how I look, how I dress. You see. So and I think now where the war now begins in matters of masculinity and this femininity you're asking about.
Yeah.
One of the, I think the foundations upon which toxic masculinity is anchored is that it is everything anti-female. It's everything anti-female. So if I show any tendency in me that tends to associate me with being a female, for example, that's what unaambiwa wacha umama, for example.
Sure.
Wacha umama. Why would you?
Wacha umama, ilitoka wapi by the way?
So and when you tell that a man, you can actually easily offend him, like likening a man to a woman or female tendency or characteristics is almost like you've belittled me. So toxic masculinity is anchored on things that would make us the things that define women, so we completely become the opposite of it. So for example, women are emotional by nature, many people. So a man should not cry.
By all means.
So regardless of what you're going through, when you're mourning your dad, they'll tell you man up. So man up is simply telling you bottle up your emotions. So what does that do to you eventually? You get to a place where you can't hold it no more. So you burst up. And how does that express itself? Anger. So becoming violent. We've seen a lot of that. So I'll just wake up one day and I'm stabbing someone. Because all along I've been manning up and manning up to me. Bottle up, don't show weakness. So you're a man, of course. So and the purpose for that is that we must not behave like them. So if Rosie here is crying about something, I cannot. However much I feel bad about it. Why? Because I'm a man, I have to appease some ego and give myself some sense of identity.
Do you feel like that was also contributed, like our moms played a role in that? Because as a son, as a boy, when you're hurt, you're told usilie, wewe ni kijana.
Presently, yes. In the old days, no. Because today now we see what happens. Toxic masculinity discourages boys from being close to their dads. Like unajua sasa Allan anatoka hapa nje, I can't hug you.
Mtaambia mko na umama.
Like where there is something so we minimize contact as much as possible. When our legs zikigongana, sorry. You see? So toxicity tells you can't be close to your dad. It is not a man. It's not a man thing. And again, it also discourages you from being close to your mom. So in a way, as a child, you are isolated from your father. As a boy, and you're isolated from your mom. So what does that do to you? Now you're growing up in almost like a void, with little guidance, with little monitoring of your parents. That's why someone can grow up, you're putting up an electric fence against wezi, killers, everything, not knowing you're actually growing up with the person who will take you out. And you have no idea. You see? So look what used to happen in the old days when our parents were growing. We read of boys would hang out with men. And they would be taught to hunt. They would be taught to take care of livestock. They would be taught to be morons. You come from those sides, so you would understand. You see? And what would women be doing? Hanging out with elderly women. Girls are sitting with women. So we have a balanced society where everybody is responding to what is supposed to be their natural roles.
I think that takes us back to Allan's point on mentorship. Wow.
Everything I believe rises and falls on leadership.
Right.
So it's a question of just to agree with you, it's a question of the foundation that people lay out here.
Mm-hmm.
So do not just conform to what the society is throwing at us. So you have to be intentional of how you raise the next generation. That's why I always say legacy and legends.
Yes.
So
Wow.
you just need to take care, as a legend, take care of the legacy, and this legacy can only be manifested in the kind of children you are raising.
Yes,
Because
yes, yes.
believe me, you today, do not show me the amount you have, do not show me the cars you drive, but show me who is in your quiver. So
Wow.
in your quiver, I'll just know your character through people around you. How are you
Yes.
raising them? So the kind of the content you're giving them will eventually be depicted in their lives. Yeah.
And how would you know you are being toxic? Ama, is there a way to know when you're being toxic?
Well, we've mentioned part of it, how you begin to see traits of toxic masculinity. Of course, now cases of uncontrolled anger.
Yeah.
A man who cannot take a no for an answer. Why? Because we grew up, masculinity tells us you are entitled.
Sense of entitlement.
So you cannot tell me no, Rosie. Whether you, whatever you have to say yes.
Yes.
So
Just
if you
because I'm a
don't,
lady.
yeah, why? Because that's masculine. That's what the faulty masculinity tells me. I'm entitled to what I want, and I can't get a no, especially from a woman. It's demeaning. If you give me a no, I can actually kill you, and we've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's happening.
So our tolerance levels begin to go low. We become aggressively competitive. You see, there is a competition that is justified.
Yeah.
Especially in school, for example. But now when we come out here in life now, we've come out of school.
Yeah.
So I was in school with Allan, for example. I haven't seen him for 3 years. Then the next time I'm seeing him, he's driving, and he looks like he's doing life, bana.
As well.
And now me, I go out there. No. Things have to work. So because there's something that seeing his state has done something to me.
Yeah.
As a man, I'm feeling challenged. This guy, we were on the same level just the other day. So I would do anything to give myself that identity, to give myself that lifestyle. Whether it's landing myself a corrupt deal with Kemsa,
By all means.
whether it is hacking into a bank, kuchimba tunnel underground, whatever I do. Why? Because I want to give myself a certain life that I feel now I can be regarded as a man. How can my peers be driving and I'm not?
I'm not.
So the next day I see him with a girl,
You also want.
You get one.
I must.
You get two.
and what's even more unfortunate about that,
Yeah.
some bits of toxic masculinity equate being masculine with the number of women you are able to conquer.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
So
now,
when we meet in our boys club,
you be like,
yes, I have a story.
Then you've just communicated like
Exactly.
it's something that obviously happened.
You know-
Boys take pride in body count.
exactly.
And,
The way-
and speaking of that, let me just ask this question. Why is it that boys take pride in that, whereas if women take pride in that, they are seen as bad people, as prostitutes, as whores?
The thing is, sometimes I have always said this. If you find a lady, she's whatever they're doing, or a man, whatever they're doing, they have more than one partner, and the other person on the street. The only difference is the person on the street is in the public sector and you are in the private sector. So the issue, the issue is, the way you're just saying.
Yeah.
Men, we take pride. We are vision oriented. We are work oriented. So that's why you rarely see men introducing themselves like, I'm married to so and so. Even if, as I say, you go to a place, a mom will come, and when she's introducing herself, she'll be like, I'm married, I have like, I'm a grandmother, all those kind of things. But men will be like, I'm a CEO somewhere, all those kind of things.
About their work.
About the project, about work. And that's why I will always say, men, we are project oriented in this sense. Because today I've won Lady X. That project done. I move on to the next. So we enjoy the chase. It takes a secure and a mature man to be able to control all those kinds of things. And it all boils down to you understanding, like, now, all these things, how is it beneficial to me? So the moment you realize that, you won't be competing with people, because sometimes you might be competing with this person and this person is enjoying their profit, and you here is your only capital.
You're spending your capital.
Exactly. It's so painful. And don't, whatever you see out here, little ground different. So you need to understand. Maybe this person, this person, they're just doing it for fun. This person, they're depending on their parents, or they have something. But your parents are depending on you, or the society at large is depending on you. So you weigh the dynamics. Do not be in a competition with anyone. Just because you want to fit in. And just because you want to fit in doesn't mean that is your place.
I think to also add on what he's saying, and in response to your question, with matter sexuality, the man is considered as a conqueror, and the woman is the one to be conquered. So, like in war, the conqueror is celebrated. The one who's been conquered is
just okay.
Nobody celebrates you. So for women, it's easier. What is it called? Walk of shame. It's more about women than about boys. So boys talk about their sexual experiences or encounters from a place of I've conquered. You see, and it's always about women, even in the Bible. David and Saul, when David killed Goliath, Saul did not have a problem up to at least that point. The problems began when the women composed the song for David. And they said, Saul has killed 1,000, David has killed 10,000. And Saul became... his anger actually boiled up, and that's when he started pursuing this boy to kill him. Because women, this is a territory that means a lot to us. So, and I think it's an unfortunate place to be, especially for the female gender. Because unfortunately, again, that's how our society has been wired up. We celebrate the conqueror, and then so I think the issues to do with sexuality and toxic masculinity are very much intertwined. So boys feel like they have an entitlement to you, whether you are a stranger or not. But then now, if I've invested in you, quote unquote, by taking you out for a coffee date, now you owe me. And that's unfortunate, because if I'm taking you out, it needs to be unconditional. At least that's the love we see in scripture. You see, even when Jesus dies, he doesn't come with a gun on you that you... In fact, Revelation says he's knocking. What knocking implies, no force.
It's your
it is your willingness, whether you open the door or not. I'll go. So and if that's then the basis of our love, and which should be actually, then I should be able to know, if I decide that I'll take this girl out, it must never be because I expect anything in return.
And that is where most men are failing.
Because if it does, then it's conditional love, which fails the threshold of what true love should be like. So I'm taking you out wholly because I want to do it. I want to appreciate you, for example. And I want to just have some time with you, not because I expect anything in return. Now, if that's my understanding, if I go there and I don't like what I get, I can easily go back. Why? Because I did not even have expectations of returns or anything. And so on and so forth.
So you're just saying toxic men, they're not into dating, they're into trading.
Investors.
On that note, I don't know, would you guys love to have some coffee?
Why not?
Yes, of course.
Coffee. In the meantime, you can be telling me, how has toxic masculinity affected our society?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's true. It has really affected our society to a point whereby you realize men out here, they feel they have a lot of sense of entitlement, whereby they can't, the way you are just saying, they can't take no for an answer. They can't do anything without having some expectations. And all these things they are doing, they are like fighting their other counterpart, the women, whereby a woman should not have a say. So I think it is so demeaning, whereby we tend and we feel like we are in a competition with women. Instead, we are supposed to be complementing each other. We need each other for growth. That's why, from the womb to the tomb, you'll always need people.
Totally.
So
amazing. I like that.
You cannot get like today, even if you do everything and anything, you still need a person. So it is a point whereby men need to reach to a point. We just need to appreciate the other gender, and that will only begin if we are going to shun away from toxic masculinity.
Amazing.
Speaking of about how it affects, there's a point that Precious had mentioned about anger and suicide and men basically bottling up their emotions. Do you think that contributes in any way how society is affected by toxic masculinity?
Well, it does. There's I was listening to a conversation sometime the other day about especially this issue of suicide, and they were saying, especially in the US now, the suicide attempts. I can't remember the figures they mentioned, but on the male side were more chances that for a man it will be successful. Suicide attempts were way much more than female, and they were attributing it to easy access to weapons, guns, and all those kind of things. And just thinking about that, you see the thing with bottling up emotions is at the end of the day you will always get to a threshold. What we used to call in physics the elastic limit. Beyond which a spring is permanently damaged.
You can define it well. You're a good student.
No, I love physics.
Oh yeah.
So
engineering.
The thing about an elastic limit is that you don't know when you're getting close to it. So you keep on loading weights. You keep on loading weights unless you have a scale of measurement. You can't tell.
Yeah, sure.
So you keep on going, you're going, and then before you realize it, the spring is damaged.
Oh wow.
And that's the place where someone becomes violent. A man wakes up one day, just closes the door and burns everybody in the house. Or someone just wakes up and just stabs somebody in bed. And this is someone I've lived with for this number of years. But then I wake up just one morning and drive in knives, into. So, and you get to see that these are people who perhaps, because of that man up, bottle it up, so you end up pushing yourself, and you find yourself now in a place where it bursts out in a very ugly manner. And that's why perhaps we also have a lot of people in jail.
And why is it that even if we have all this evidence of toxic masculinity, at the end of the day, men still want to remain toxic, for lack of a better one? What happens?
We tend to take glory in, we tend to take glory in some things, and because the society, we've seen people who do those things, and let's say we have people who we look up to as models. So because so and so did something, we'd be like, I can do this, so that I can prove a point. I can prove a point to the society and to my boys that I can do this. Because remember, they told me, man up. And that is the danger of telling a man you need to man up. So they will man up in the wrong way. And the problem, even they didn't want to do it, but because of their ego, I want to prove a point, I'm a man. So all those kind of things play a role.
There is also a lot of stigmatization and peer influence that goes into toxic masculinity. Because one of the things that is common about men is that we always want the affirmation of other people. Now we don't say it, but we crave for it. So when I know my circle of friends, my clique of friends, how they behave, how they want things done, I will always tend to realign myself in that manner, so that I'm accepted, so that I feel like I belong to a particular group. So however much toxic masculinity is, I will still want to do it. Why? Because I want to belong. Because
so the need to belong, and having the sense of belonging
constantly push us on that edge. It will always, however, you see, it's a case of, I know this thing is bad, but I'll still go there because I have also an ego.
I need to belong. Wow. On that note, we need to take a short break so that we can sip our coffee as we take in this. It's just deep fuel. Thank you so much. Lady or gentleman, that is Precious Cole and Allan Lawrence for you, talking about toxic masculinity. As we sip our coffee, do enjoy the break, enjoying Gong Hills Hotel tour. We'll be back after the short break. back, lady or gentleman. Thank you so much for staying tuned at the corner seat. Before we went on a break, we were talking at length about toxic masculinity, and moving forward, I want us to delve deeper and talk more on misogyny. So thank you so much, Precious and Allan, for your time. I really appreciate your contribution to the show today and the discussion that we're having today. So talking about misogyny, which is the hatred towards women, do you think in any way it has been accelerated by toxicity in men?
Well, yes, I believe to a greater extent it has. Because hate is a strong word.
Yeah.
Hate is not natural. I don't just hate you.
Yeah.
There has to be something about me, maybe an experience I've been through, that would get me to a place of that strong repulsion towards a person.
Yeah.
And naturally, women are actually beautiful people.
Yeah.
I mean, the world is the way it is, I believe, because of mothers to a great extent.
Yeah.
They bring some flavor, they bring some value, and so it is not natural that you just wake up one day and you hate women. And so I think to a greater extent, misogyny is propelled more, either because perhaps there's something I wanted and I didn't get, and so that the agony and the anger that comes with being the rejection I experienced from a woman would now drive me to a place of extreme hate that now even translates to violence in some cases. And of course now that says something about us than it does about women, in a broader lens or view of it. So I think for me it really boils down to the level of expectations in our associations, relationships, or even friendships.
Can we also include entitlement?
Definitely. I like you said earlier on, I am entitled, I have rights over you. You need to always say yes, so when you don't, that I think for me is it narrows down to those issues: expectations, entitlement, and so on.
How about you, Allan?
Here there are two things. Sometimes people hate women because of some, like, let's say the problem is not the woman, the women themselves, or in other words, maybe this woman have infringed pain on her and she's not suffering or complaining the way I expected. And another way is sometimes people hate these women or women in general because some people love. So you reach to that level whereby it's just that I develop hatred why this person being loved, because I don't see the value. And I've always said that just because somebody does not see your value doesn't mean that you're valueless. And just because you see someone suffering, I say it somewhere, just because you hate someone doesn't mean they will suffer, because God is not from your video.
Yes. Oh Lord.
So I think that expectation, and some people, they're just sadist and narcissistic in nature. Just to see people suffering, they just find glory, and infringing pain on people, they just see the glory. And people are going through issues, so they just wake up one day, feel like hating on people and doing all those kind of things. So they have their own battles. They have not come to reality with them. So they feel the only way they can try and see like they have conquered is when they infringe pain, is when they hate on another person. And you person who is hating on another person, it means that that person is so important till you just have to you have to let go your burden and just focus on them. So find something to do.
Additionally, and just listening, I'm thinking also there are people who just hate women for absolutely no
reason.
Sure, because there's a certain wave of gender wars that's all over social media.
Sure.
So everybody is picking a bone with everyone. So so you even find someone who's never been in a relationship, but they're all over saying, "Oh, women are gold diggers. Oh, men are dogs." So you ask why? What has someone done to you? Not nothing. I just logged on to Twitter one day and I found this thing trending. So I take my side and we keep on. So you find there is a lot of exchange that is really baseless.
Exactly.
I can't say this is what someone has done to me.
Yeah.
You see, I can't justify. So, but because there is this wave and everyone is talking and everyone is writing something and everyone is commenting, so all of us are there and we're just feeling space and we're just so you go and sometimes you almost feel like, okay, this is too much, so where is it all beginning? And you find it's a very small issue. Someone just raised a problem on Twitter or Instagram and then it trends and then it polarizes people, and those are some of the adverse effects we have on social media. It's gradually making this thing very difficult to go by and go about. So these days you even find yourself in a place where you want to comment on something but you pause because the chances of you being misunderstood or misinterpreted are so high, and you once something goes out there, you can't take it back. They'll always be there someday, maybe even used against you. So it becomes very difficult to even have these conversations. And even when you invite people for these discussions on TVs, on shows, on radio, it still becomes very difficult because all of us are so stuck in what we think is true and what we believe and what we think should be. Nobody wants to listen to the other person. So we are continually driving ourselves into a mess that getting ourselves out. Sometimes I imagine what our children will grow up in and I get scared.
It's like we're digging a hole that's just going deeper and deeper and
every
deeper.
Day. Right.
Do you think women in any way have contributed to misogyny or toxic masculinity?
That's a tricky question.
Answer
I
it
don't
trickily.
want to be stoned.
Please speak
The
up
truth
your
of the
mind.
matter is, I think all of us are guilty in one way or the other. Guilty of assuming, first of all, that now that this happened to this particular person, so that becomes the standard for everyone. So
we generalize.
Yeah, and now someone has been, say, in 3 relationships, and in all those 3 relationships, it's ended, let's say, in a heartbreak, or even 4 or 5 relationships, and it's never worked out. So this person will get out of that relationship, and chances are her view or his view of relationships will completely change because of what those different people or parties have done. But sometimes we don't realize that in all these 5 relationships, I'm actually the common denominator.
Wow.
So would it actually be something about me, such that before I go to Twitter and pick a bone and say men are this, would there be something about myself, or women are this, to be safe? Would there be something about me that has an impact on the nature of relation, or on how a relationship fares in it? Because how come all these relationships have gone through similar issues and problems? Surely it cannot just be the problem is this person. There has to be something about me. What is it that I'm doing that's causing this person to behave this way and this person to behave in the same way? So when we do that, when we retrospect and look at ourselves first, it becomes easier to be objective.
Wow.
It becomes easier to be objective. Now people don't like everybody else is a problem but us.
By the way you're just saying, you find let's say, like a man or a lady comes online to say, for example, that all men are dogs. The question is, who sent you to try all of them? So you have to.
How did you find out all of them?
You are just telling us who you are, you know. So the way you are just saying. So you have to, like, as much as things didn't work out, introspect yourself. What am I really doing wrong? The moment you realize that, and take full responsibility, because today no one wants to take responsibility over their mess. We want, after let's say a relationship is not working out, we tend to come out and blame the other person. Maybe I'm blaming this person, or if you listen keenly, you can get it that this person is the problem in this relationship, but we don't want to own it up. So we cannot just say that women are contributing to some extent, or they are not contributing. It varies.
Let me say it this way, probably in my closing remark on this question. It's like when I wear specs or shades. If I wear shades that are brown, everything I see will appear brown.
Brown, sure.
So things are not as they are as I see them.
Sure.
So it's my lens that is determining what I see.
Wow.
So So I won't go out there and say the world is brown and make
you
it
want
is
yellow.
people to
what you're
believe it's
seeing.
brown.
That's what I'm seeing because of the lens. In a way to say, our worldview really determines what we get out there.
Wow.
So it's almost impossible for you to get anything extra your worldview. Because now I'm saying that I believe there are actually good men.
Yes.
And there are also a lot of good women. And seeing them has a lot to do with where we are.
Yeah.
Where you're standing.
It has a lot to do with where we are standing at. I saw someone say, if you, for instance, right here a 6. If I'm seated this way, I see a 6. Someone standing the other way sees a 9.
That's a 9.
That is not to say that it's not actually supposed to be confusing, by the way. It's the person who wrote it, he wanted it to be a 6, it's actually a 6.
Yes.
But it tells you, based on where you're standing, chances are you are seeing different things. So if you're standing in toxicity,
Yeah.
you will see a lot of toxicity.
Wow.
If you're feeding, it's like the computer, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
If all I ever do when I go online is to listen to these toxic rants,
Yeah.
And there is a way the internet is wired whereby
Exactly,
you
yeah.
can, whatever you're looking for, you get. Even the world is fair.
exactly,
Today, if I want to see a problem in you or him,
You'll see.
I will
you'll
see.
find it.
So it just depends on what I want to see
Yes.
and what I want to experience.
Yeah.
So you're the one who creates the experiences, you are the one who creates the environment. Because once the environment inward is clear, you will always experience a clear environment.
Yeah.
But once the environment inside is toxic, the way you're just saying, the environment around you will be toxic. So it's about me. Yeah.
So if you today host a show
Yeah.
and you want to do an expose about someone, you have
A lot of them. Shy.
but if you are trying to solve a problem, if
Yeah.
you're trying to create solutions, chances are not many people will follow you.
Yeah.
Because now we've conditioned ourselves
Yeah.
to thrive on toxicity.
Yeah.
So, and the more we listen to these things, the more they influence how we think. The more we keep on hearing these stories on Instagram lives, on YouTube.
Twitter.
So we are becoming, it's doing something to us.
It's affecting
Because that's
us.
information, it's in and then form. So we are becoming what we are listening to. So no wonder we are undateable. Because we keep on listening to how people didn't work. And the few people that are working out, that have lived over the years,
Yeah.
they're not given much attention.
Yeah.
But wait until there is a scandal. It will trend a week.
It will trend
So-
number 1 on Twitter.
I know.
Let's talk about this notion where the reason why I was asking about women contributing to toxic masculinity is because of this notion that we have where women, not all women of course, but most women go around saying they can't date good boys, they want the bad boys. What's your take on that? How does that influence you as men?
It matters a lot what a woman thinks about me, especially if this is someone I'm interested in. Chances are I will do everything in my power to align to what they want.
So if I want a bad boy, you become one.
Unless I'm very much principled and I know really what I want, it's a very easy path to navigate into. So women carry a lot of influence within themselves. It is, women are influential. A woman can easily make things into law in a house.
Yeah.
A mother can.
Yeah.
The house revolves around the mood of the mother many times. So they have so much influence within themselves and even how God wired them.
Yeah.
I think it's Miles Monroe who says women are incubators, in that whatever you give them, they multiply.
Yeah.
And so it is so easy for women to also influence who we become.
Okay.
So if I am so, that's how I'm wired, I respond ego. So what this girl thinks about me is really a big deal.
Wow.
So if she wants me bad,
I'll make
unless
sure.
I'm very principled, then I'll become bad because I want to keep her. I want to please her. And I want her to speak good of me in her circles.
Oh
So
my god.
influence.
Yeah, you know, just to add on what you're saying. In the dating scene, like when a man is trying to pursue this lady, and this lady is so sure that this guy is pursuing me,
Yeah.
that lady has power over this man. They can manipulate this man around till they become who the lady wants. And also now, after dating, now the girl is totally in love. the man on the other end will control and manipulate this lady. So it's a question of personal principles, So we always try to change the narrative. That is why a good man, that's why someone was saying, why during dating, 2 weeks in dating, the guy has a lot of money. But after some time, let's say Maisha, so you got a campaign. So the thing is, people now in dating scene, like now they are sharing their books and what have you. So people now come to who they have been who like the real themselves. But during dating, I'm always good, So after some time the reality hits. So the reality hits because this person was trying just to pursue it. So people tend to camouflage a lot, and that's why I've always advised in my book that do not commit to a person if you've not seen them how they react when under pressure, because that is when you can truly know who they are. Because that particular moment, even if they throw words at you, believe me, that is what they have been thinking about you. So they are just manifesting the real themselves. So people need to be careful and be very much principled. Be real. Let a person get what they are seeing. If you cannot match up, no need to hide and all those kinds of things. Let them know for who you are. Personal integrity. Do not be good or bad because of the other person. Just be good or bad because of who you are. Yeah.
Women have also not women, I mean men have also pressured good boys to be bad boys in a way. I think when they see a man who is affectionate towards women, cares about women, they see him as an inferior man. And I don't know, have you ever experienced that in your lives? Where you care about women and men just think you're being a simp. They say you're simp, you're not a lady. Have you ever experienced that?
Don't be a shoulder to lean on, they say. Those realities are true, but maybe just before I say that, on the previous question you had asked about the contribution of women in toxicity, I also believe it can be in the form of, I have observed that as a woman has observed a toxic trait in a man but chooses to be silent. So we find we have a lot of people that are tolerating toxicity just for the joy of being in a relationship. So there are people who will still be there.
I don't want to be alone, so watch and vomit.
You keep seeing the red flags, but you don't. And the encouragement would be, call them out. Run for your life, by the way, because it can actually get to a matter of life and death. So when you begin to see these toxic traits, call them out, talk about them, initiate those conversations. If someone is unwilling, then you have to know that your life is also on the line. But on the contribution of boys, yes, it happens, and of course it also comes as a stigma, in that there are some things as a boy you should not do for a girl. Like you don't carry her purse, you don't take her to the market. For those that are married, you don't cook. So and I think I find those things a bit now this is a personal. This is where you say the views expressed are not the views of this show. But sometimes I find most of those things a bit petty, because the nature of love in its purest form, love gives itself. Love gives itself, and that's what we even see in scripture. God loved that He gave. So when you're loving someone, you're basically thinking of them first. So I am concerned about my actions, how they make them feel. I want to know, what can I do to make this person feel special? What can I do to make this person feel appreciated? Now, there is no, I cannot say now this is the code, this is how every man should behave. But those are conversations you should have with your woman and make them low, and let no third party influence how. For example, if we've decided in this our setup, I will be carrying your purse. Now that's our reality, that's our experience, that's how it works for us. And so of course it does something in the image of a man when it's viewed out there, and it really, this has to be a very strong person to be able to stand up against the current or swim against the current, because it's not easy. It's not easy, and maybe that's why it's increasingly becoming difficult to find things that you can do together, because many things now have been trivialized to the level of no,
you cannot do
this. So we are being separated in terms of affection from women. So I have sisters whom I should not be close to because of what? Yeah, I will be.
Thank you.
I'll hug them, I'll walk with them,
Yeah.
I'll hold their hand, because this is someone I care about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's your opinion, Allan?
Wow. You know, like one thing I've always said, a relationship whereby you're manipulated to change so that you fit in is not worth it. A true relationship is once you've decided, yes, I'm committing to this person. Remember, a relationship is never a feeling, it's a commitment. You understand the dynamics that comes with a relationship. So the moment I'm getting yoked to this person, there are some things I have to be like, so that I can accommodate the other person. There are some things I have to compromise. But do not try the other person, like, let's say you are a lady, you try to make this person change. They can change for some time. As long as you are not God, don't try to perform the miracle. It will backfire. So let this person, like, if they truly value you, they see the need, they will keep on being who they are. So do not enter into a relationship with a commitment of wanting this person to change to have you. If they just want to change, like let's say they have been bad boys and they just want now to transition to good men, they will see the need, okay, it is worth it. But otherwise, do not try to resuscitate what is on the deathbed. So let it go. It's not worth you getting into a toxic relationship. Remember, it's better for you as a lady. It's better for you to have a broken relationship than a broken marriage.
True.
So once there's some just telltale signs that you will always see from the onset. Do not be blinded by the red roses till you don't see the red flags. Red flags will always be there if you really want to see. And how can you see them? If you be intentional. Ladies out here, I just want to tell you a secret. If you want a man to change, connect with them so that you can correct them. Do not just wake up from the blues and you be like, I want you to change the way you dress. You will be rebellious. There is that masculinity way. So it's a topic for another day. So people just have to be friends from the onset, so that once you realize some change of behaviors, you can be able to work it out. And if there are some changes you need to put in the relationship, you can work it out if you have a table of understanding.
Toxic masculinity is such a broad topic. I'm not sure we can exhaust that today, but as we come to the end, I know we've been talking about the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. What do you think is the remedy to toxic masculinity? What is it that individuals can do? Because I believe change begins with one person. I decide to change, you decide to change, and eventually we change the society. So what do you think is the remedy that men can incorporate so that they can get rid of toxicity?
I think we redefine manhood and masculinity and go back to then the opposite of toxicity, which I'd say dignified masculinity.
Yes.
Such that then we work on our understanding of masculinity. If the things that make me feel muscular are, say, physical, like beards, I have biceps. So what happens when, say, I get cancer and I lose all my hair? Do I stop being a man? No. So if it's about the women I conquer, peradventure I'm involved in a car accident and my manhood is completely destroyed such that I can't sleep with a woman again, do I stop being a man? No. So if the things that we used to define our manhood or masculinity are things that can be lost.
Oh, lost is the word.
Yes, then that definition is faulty.
And it should be redefined.
It should be redefined. And when we redefine and look at it, for me, I would encourage that we consider the genesis of it, the Bible. When God creates Adam, I think that's the first place we see a man.
Yes.
And when you look at Adam in especially Genesis 2, there are some things about him that scream. For example, God had given him responsibility.
Yes.
So masculinity has a lot to do with responsibility. Adam was nurturing and taking care of God's environment. Masculinity has a lot to do with nurturing.
Wow.
Adam was naming animals. Masculinity has a lot to do. Now this is not masculinity, just I'm a man. This is now the identity that I'm calling out, I'm naming.
Wow.
And when Eve comes into the picture, and then Adam has not only these three to do, but now to also take care. And when he is not there to do that, a mess happens because he was missing.
Yeah.
So then masculinity comes with a connotation of protection, presence, availability. So I think for me it will narrow down to these things.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, of course I'm still growing up, but sometime I remember after campus, we were doing some work among high schools. So I was working with another old man, way much older, and he said to me one day, we were just driving in Eldoret, that Precious, if women around you do not feel safe, both physically, emotionally, or there is somehow a sense of feeling threat, there's a threat, then you're not a man.
Wow.
He said that when a woman is around you, they should feel so secure. Emotionally, they should feel so secure. This person cannot take advantage of you, whichever way. Then you can know
that you are a man.
I was so that has stuck with me forever, and I believe that is what masculinity should be about. It should be about what we offer. It should be about that we are nurturing. So if it's in the level of a relationship or a family or marriage, there's growth. I'm constantly calling out my spouse to become better every day. If it's in the context of a father and a child, I'm spending time with my children, calling them out, you know, nurturing them, growing with them, naming them. That is giving them an identity. So I think for me, the only way to counter toxic masculinity, let's go back to dignified masculinity. And we have to be very willing and open, because it is not easy.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
It will take a lot to actually accept, to learn and learn and relearn. Allan, what's the solution?
What do I have?
Stress are darker.
I'm telling you, we humble ourselves in your presence just because
Wow.
You see, one thing, I've been to hospitals, I've been to places. I've never ever seen a person on a hospital bed as a man just because they swallowed their ego. Swallowing your ego does not choke you.
Swallow your ego, man.
So,
hey, meza.
swallow your ego and be ready to learn, relearn, be ready to be taught. A person who is a person of authority, as the way he has said, you must be under authority. And to be under authority does not mean that you are weak. It shows some sense of greatness. It is, you know, humility, like the way they define humility, is strength put under control. I know I'm powerful. I know I can beat you all, but under control. So you have to reach to that level whereby I know my role as a man, you know. I know my role as a man is to protect, to nurture, and make everyone feel safe, and to empower other people so that they can come to a level whereby the society is a safe space whereby people can grow, you know. And all these things happen if we can go to a place whereby we are ready to be mentored. So men, we need to be ready to be mentored and attend sessions, get the right information, because information is power. So how powerful you want to be in a subtle way depends on the kind of information you have. So, and this kind of information, you will always get it if you want to.
Wow, you have spoken it all. I don't even know what to add on. Yes, please.
And that number one is pursuing intentional friendships.
Intentional friendships.
Especially within male circles. Our friendships are very plastic. This guy
what I can get.
This guy and I will hang out to talk about football, to talk about women, to talk about. It never goes beyond that. We never hang out to how are you doing? So what's happening in your life? Now, that's unlike women. I was reading the other day some statistic that was saying the life of expectancy of men has gone at an ultimate low. And part of the reason that we're being attributed is because men don't have intentional friendships where they can open up about issues that are eating themselves up. They say in a marriage setup, if a wife dies, chances of that man following sooner are higher than if it's the father who dies and the mother is left with the children. Chances are she will live longer. Because, you know, and that's about women. even you, if a girl walked up in here, you'd connect so easily.
So fast.
10 minutes later, they've already talked about how they grew up. They've already exchanged contact. They've followed each other on Instagram.
Dating or not.
They're already opening up. Sisi, we will sit here.
Yeah.
Everyone to his space. Niaje poa. That's how we are wired. And so sometimes it's so easy for me to have 100 people around me, but so lonely.
You're alone.
Nobody ever wants to know how you now. Those are things that we need to break. So intentional friendships, and when you have those, then you can be vulnerable. Now, vulnerability is unlike men, because vulnerability implies weakness.
And you're told, man up.
Yeah. So if I'm coming to this guy and I want to really open up to him about a struggle,
is a bro.
This needs to be real friendship. So we don't have that, so we can't be vulnerable. So we embrace toxic masculinity. So apart from just a dignified manhood, it's important to pursue those friendships that are intentional. Be willing to be vulnerable, and I think we are good to go.
By the way,
amazing.
Accountability partners, right?
Yes.
So that was that was a lot.
Thank you.
I feel like we have truly exhausted. Okay, we're not exhausted, but we've shared out.
Yeah.
I am personally full. I feel like we've delivered, and I believe we have men out there, at least one, who has been helped in some way, and they're ready to change. And I believe change in society begins with one person. So thank you so much for your time.
We appreciate it.
I feel like this was necessary. Karibuni sana.
Too many more.
Too many more. Cheers. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time.
Asante.
Lady or gentleman, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. A lot has been shared. Be sure to comment in the comment section so that we can get back to you, engage with us on what you think concerning every detail we have talked about, and whatever you feel you could have covered as well. Do comment so that someone else can read and obtain help. I am super excited because you have concluded the season on a pretty high note. The discussion was deep, intense, and I believe it was necessary for our society. Just to let you know, season 2 of the Corner Seat will be starting soon, so do stay tuned, keep it locked, stay plugged into this channel, and if you're watching this on television, you can reach out to us and offer feedback through the numbers on your screen right now. Until season 2, I'm your host, Rozitta. Blessings galore. Bye.